controversial sport in the world, boxing, had some more controversy on the weekend. Seems to be every time there's a boxing event, there's some sort of controversy. So Australian George Kambosis fought Mr. Hughes. His full name is just slipped my mind, unfortunately. Apologies.
The English boxer.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes. His family name is Hughes. And I don't think I've seen a recent fight that's been more, how can I say this in the nicest way possible, that's been more talked about in negative fashion, saying Kambosis lost that fight, saying he shouldn't have won, so on and so on. Look, at the end of the day, a decision is a decision. So we can't really change much. But the public, some expert commentators, the boxing community as a whole is pretty disappointed. And anybody who watched that fight is disappointed too, because they believe boxing has failed them again, right? Because
is this a failure because of the scoring system or because Kambosis isn't as good as what we thought?
It's a failure because Hughes has worked his butt off all his life for this moment, right? To rise and be a former linear world champion, which would have been an absolutely groundbreaking win for him. It would have put him on the map, changed his life, changed his career. Now he's going to go back and he's going to continue to be a journeyman, right? So this is what it does. This is what people don't understand. They think, oh, yeah, it's just a decision. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. But hang on a second. What about that guy who's been working his whole life for this moment? What about that guy? Had he got this decision, it could have changed his life. It could have put him on the map. He could have welcomed him to the boxing world, right? What happens to him now? He's got to go back, put in another 12 weeks training camp, another 12 weeks of expenses, tens of thousands of dollars, and hope he gets a fight that can cover those expenses. Nobody sees that, right? It's just disgusting. It just keeps happening and happening and happening. And that's why my favorite entrepreneur, Dana White, is destroying this sport, taking over. Martial arts, nobody even knows what. If you go to any regular guy in the street, tell him what's MMA, he tells you, I don't know. You tell him UFC, oh yeah, UFC. It's taken over. People think MMA is UFC, right? So this guy is giving us the best fights, building brands, building profiles, and this sport's growing at a faster rate than anything. And boxing is going completely the other way, run by dinosaurs and corrupt sharks.
Exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head with corrupt sharks. The other thing is why people love UFC. It is too hard to rig. That's why the fans love it, because it's an honest contest. Whereas boxing, I think it's been shrouded in corruption for as long as people have been boxing.
100%. And what's happening now is the fans have had enough of it.
They have,
and we're seeing that because you can only milk the cow for so long before it dries up, and people are sick of being milked. These shit fights, excuse the language, have been like 99% of boxing fights in today's world have been subpar, like rubbish.
No, we'll go harder. If they're shit fights, say it. Go harder.
Yeah, shit fights. You'll be lucky to get one or two big fights a year that people wanted to see. And when they do put them on, they're 5 years too late, like Pacquiao and Mayweather, right? Yep. So that's why people are losing interest.
They are.
Because why would you stick around to see this star fight a journeyman and then fight another journeyman and another journeyman and another taxi driver and then another taco seller and it's just the same rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Who cares? Move on.
It's really disappointing because people like you and I who have invested in the sport for such a long period of time can see through the trees, whereas a lot of fans really want to be able to trust the judges, trust the fighters, trust the managers, trust the promoters. people just don't have that trust anymore like they used to. And you and I, who have been able to understand the trials and tribulations of boxing, are probably a little bit immune to it. It's just we are really disappointed, and we're not sure how much of a future the sport has, and hence why the UFC is now a $5.5, $6 billion prospect, and boxing is dying.
12. But anyway.
As in 12 billion?
Yeah.
Wow. And growing.
Yeah, because so just for context, for those that don't know, Endeavour, who were the guys that bought the UFC for $4 billion, have also bought the WWE for $9 billion. So they bought the UFC in 2016. So now the UFC is worth $12 billion. The WWE they bought was worth $9 billion.
From Vince McMahon?
Sorry, mate?
From Vince McMahon.
They bought it from Vince McMahon, yes, for $9 billion. Ari Emanuel is the founder of Endeavour and current CEO. So now they've formed this super company that pretty much stands where they both stand underneath, and the value of that company is $21 to $22 billion. Right?
Do you know who Ari Emanuel is in Hollywood terms?
He's the king. Yeah,
but he started Endeavour, and that's who. Do you remember the show and Hollywood movie Entourage?
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
so that's Ari Piven's character was based on Ari Emanuel.
There you go. We learn something new every day. But
just to digress for one moment, Ahmed, because of your knowledge and nous in the boxing world and community, where does George Kambosis go from here? Yes, he won a controversial decision. Where does his future lie?
I think George Kambosis needs to go and spend some time with his kids and his wife, look after him, and enjoy the rest of his life. He's done the hard work. He's made the money. He's made a history. He has. He's made history. Yep. He'll be known forever. After his last fight, I think he's just had enough.
He's had enough, or you think he should call it quits?
I think he should call it quits. All right, everyone. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you, Tony. Take care, everyone. We'll catch you all next week.
Thanks, Ahmed. Another great edition of Raw Sports.